Welcome to an Animation Portfolio Workshop character design session video. What you're looking at here is a shape. This is one of the shapes, in fact it's shape number 3 of 14, one of the shapes that was used in the Animation Portfolio Workshop Character Design Challenge. The challenge, just to explain it briefly, was basically 14 days of a new shape like this every day, and character designers look at this shape and then they design a character based on this shape. Here, I'll just remove this piece of paper. This is a drawing made by Phi. Phi is a current Animation Portfolio Workshop student. So you can see that with this character, you can see the leg, you can see the body and the head making up the round part of the shape. And it's obviously a flamingo looking over his shoulder, or maybe looking over her shoulder. So my idea that I want to share with you is very simple. It's variation. I'm going to make a drawing where I try to use some of the basic ideas that Phi was using, and then I'll try to change the size of some of those shapes. The reason for this is to give myself a couple of options by drawing some variation. Now with this drawing here, I've changed the size of the head, I've changed the size of the body, and the legs I've kept more or less the same. I've actually taken that one leg down a little bit, made that foot a little bit bigger. I'm leaving it very, very sketchy, and I'm not finishing this off. The reason I'm doing it this way is because at this point, all I'm trying to do is examine a couple of design options. I'll put a couple of feathers on his head, and I'll just draw a little contour there that talks about the edge of the beak and where it meets up with the form of the head. Two things I want to point out with this character. One, very simply, the size of the head, the size of the body, and the height of the legs. So this to this to this. Notice that. Have a look at that right here and then compare that with what's right here. They're a little bit different. The legs are more or less the same. The body is much smaller. The head's a lot bigger. And the beak is a lot bigger. I've tried to keep this the expression of the eyelids half closed and the mouth not showing very much expression, very kind of neutral. Actually, the feeling you get with looking at this character is that he or she is not really liking what's happening, whatever is happening. So I'll just leave it at that level of detail, and I'm not going to go any further. This would be variation number 1. I just want to share with you a design idea, and that is the idea of variations. By the way, this paper is cheap note paper that you can get at any dollar store. It's not very good for making, drawings that you want to keep. It's not acid free, but it's really cheap, and the reason I like to use it for this is that you can see through it. So it's transparent, you can see the layer underneath. So I'm going to do a second variation now of this character. And in this case, the size of the head has been changed. Now, I may be taking a little bit too much license here because it sort of doesn't look like a flamingo very much anymore. However, so you can see right now that, like the first drawing, I've kind of kept the legs almost exactly the same. I've just moved this joint down a little bit. One of the reasons for that is, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, is to minimize what I felt was happening with the original design, which was, have a look at this design. There is, Phi's done an excellent job of using the shape and designing a character that corresponds really nicely with that shape. Now with my first variation that I'm going to suggest, I've decided to open up a little bit of space between the bottom of the head and the top of the body, that space right there. And the reason I've chosen to do that is to minimize that kind of overlap. If you have less overlap, then the individual form as a design element, as a shape, is more distinct. Okay? And then again, I've kept this idea, I've just changed the proportions of the head, kind of stretched it up a little bit, squashed the eye shape. So there's a second variation. And I'll grab a third piece of paper here. You know, I'm playing with sizes and shapes of things here. This one I'm going to give the character a smaller head. I'm going to compress that shape of the head. I'll keep these eyes that Phi has decided on. These kind of eyelids half closed. That kind of bored look. Not interested. Same thing with the mouth. I'm going to try and not add very much expression at all. Just kind of keep it the way Phi has started it. And I'm really changing, I guess I'm playing with, you know, the degree that it's compressed. I'm just changing the shape and the size and the height. When you're designing a character, you not only think of this as a head and a beak, you also think of it as just a shape. A shape. In the same way that this is a shape. So you're kind of running those two ideas at the same time. Now this means that my character's legs might be a little bit shorter. That's just fine. So it looks like the character's in a little bit deeper water. So that's a third variation. We'll go back to the beginning. There's Phi's drawing, Phi's design. There's my first variation. There's my second variation, and there's my third variation. And one other idea that I want to share with you, and just like before, I'm going to place another piece of note paper on top, and this time, instead of changing what's underneath, I'm trying to trace the shape more or less faithfully. I mean, I'm not getting, as you can see, I'm not spending too much time to be super precise. But the size of this form, of this shape, the size of this one, the size of this part of the shape, they're pretty much the same as what's underneath it. The reason I want to do this is to fill it in with one tone, and when I do this, I end up with a silhouette. And the silhouette shows me a lot about the positive shapes. If you've studied figure drawing, you'll know that at a certain point you begin to think about negative shapes. You begin to identify negative shapes, and then you begin to treat them. This is a negative shape. This is a negative shape. If we were to draw a rectangle around this character, that's a negative shape. This is a negative shape. Right in there, that's a tiny negative shape, as is that. These negative shapes have as much significance as the positive shapes. And by identifying them, you can work with them. So once you've done your variations of your character design, I'm going to suggest that everyone who designs a character, just force yourself to try 3 variations of that character. 1, 2, 3. And let's say we decided that we like this one. Great. Then make a silhouette of the drawing, and in fact, then make a number of variations of that silhouette. I hope this helped. If you want to find out any more about our courses, about our teachers, if you want to see student drawing examples, head over to www.animationportfolioworkshop.com. Thanks for watching.